And good afternoon, everybody. It's 8 minutes past noon here on Sunday, March 24th, 2019. We are 6 days away from Spring Breakdown, which is the newest Equestria Girl special, which is kind of, in a sense, a crossover with Friendship is Magic. If you don't know what I mean, check out the trailer for that. You'll see for yourself. I think the first couple of parts for it just came out, or will be coming out this week. So again, check that out when you get a chance. And of course, this all starts what's known as a Pony Palooza. Pony Palooza for all of us. And what that means is Discovery Family, in conjunction with Hasbro, is going to do a week-long celebration of My Little Pony throughout its various seasons, various moments. Some of the best episodes, I guess you could say, finales, premieres, all leading up to the premiere of the final season's seasonal premiere, the beginning of the end. So that is pretty good to see, pretty good to hear. But anyway, with that said, as you could tell, this video is not totally just about that right now. It is about something else. And what it's about is what's known as the Sparity debate. Now, for anybody that's been a fan of My Little Pony for as long as, maybe even longer than I, but between that category of, kind of talking about it, but then kind of slowly letting it grow on you and talk about it more till you finally come out and, realize, hey, maybe I'm a fan, maybe I am part of this community, which I came out and said that I was. Here is something that's been debated almost since the beginning, and that is the situation between Spike and Rarity and why it even kind of exists. Like I said, why it kind of exists. If you will. So again, sorry, my mind's just looking at something. It was looking at something for a second, got a little lost track there. But anyway, but everybody has, I'm pretty sure, been wondering, why does this even exist? Right? Why would, the staff at MLP, even to this day, decide to go this route? Why would they do that? Why would they decide to basically tease the fandom with a potential romance or shipping of Rarity, a grown young adult mare, and Spike, a small dragon, which some even still call a baby dragon? Why would they do that? Well, let's go back to the beginning, shall we? Let's go back to the beginning. You see, the reason, ladies and gentlemen, Spike was this whole situation with Spike and Rarity began is due to the fact that Lauren Faust herself, I think, said in an interview that she wanted to use Spike as the point of view, as our personal point of view, to see how gorgeous, how beautiful this generous character, or this character that was going to hold or herald or basically be the bearer or the current resider of the element of harmony, basically, um, Law and Faust, like I was trying to say, could put Spike in this situation because he was using him, or she was using him as our personal point of view to see how beautiful and gorgeous and lovely this generous character was. Thus showing that you could look all lovely and beautiful, model type material, if you will, but still be a very generous individual, a very nice individual. And it just went from there. It just went from there. I mean, I'm sure Lauren Faust knew what she was doing. Honestly, I think she knew what she was. Honestly, I do believe she knew what she was doing. But I don't think Lauren Faust, and I've talked about this before, expected the response to Spike and Rarity, or the situation between Spike and Rarity to become what it is. I mean, when you think about it, she probably did, but she didn't probably expect it to really snowball and become what it is. Because there was an episode, I can't think of the episode's name, from season 1, where he basically confesses to Pinky, Twilight, and I think in a sense Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy and Applejack. He confesses to all of them, or at least admits to all of them, that he has a thing for Rarity. He has a crush on Rarity. Now, some people may look at that scene and be like, even to this day, will look at that scene and be like, well, why is it just Rarity? Why doesn't he develop a crush on Fluttershy, help her get over her fear, which she did, of dragons, or at least several dragons? Why didn't he develop a crush on Rainbow or Pinky or Applejack? Why Rarity? Why Rarity and all that? And it's because when you take a look at the other characters, potentially, yeah, he could have done that. Lauren Faust could have said, okay, we're going to use him to show how beautiful someone like Rainbow Dash is, or someone like Applejack is, or Fluttershy. But he didn't do that, or even Pinky. But she, I should say, Lauren Faust didn't do that. Lauren Faust decided, well, the way we're going to design Rarity, she's going to basically be the femme fatale, the most feminine out of the group. Let's go with her. And again, she could have chose another character, another member of the main 6, but she didn't. And it was only and I think the reason Lauren went with that, and I believe, in my opinion, the reason Lauren Faust went with that isn't just because she wanted to use Spike as our personal point of view, but because she goes by that old trope of, here's a character that likes romance, here's a character that's just fallen in love and developed this thing for this character. Maybe we could build towards something. Maybe we could have something occur in the future. And I think when she wrote that scene, or at least produced that scene where Spike confessed how he felt about Rarity, she knew she was going to have to do a follow-up on that and have Spike finally admit it to Rarity. And that's where Secret of My Excess comes in. The way it was all built up, and the way it was built up to that moment, and stuff, to kind of show that maybe Spike's learning from Rarity as she's learning from him. Some people pointed that out. That perhaps, Rarity, Spike learning from Rarity is just like Rarity learning from him. And like I said, I think a lot of people have pointed that out due to the fact that when you watch Secret of My Excess, even though Rarity complimented it, Spike could see how much this fire ruby that he had actually seasoned, believe it or not, matured, got ripe and everything, to try to treat himself to a birthday gift for himself. even though she complimented it, I've pointed this out before. Others have pointed this out before. Spike did not have to give Rarity the ruby. He could have said, "Thank you for the compliment," and then "Thank you for the compliment, Rarity. It means a lot to me," and then decide to walk off and enjoy. But no, what did he do? He decided, you know what? It means a lot to her as it does to me, but she values it more. But obviously, she could see how more important or more valuable it is than just a regular jewel to snack on. And the fact that he probably knew that she saw the rarity of it, if you catch my drift, well, no pun intended, he decided that, well, if anybody's going to be able to take care of this and keep it in pristine condition, it's going to be her. And he said, you know what, if it means that much to you, or if it means that much, or if it's that valuable, or whatever, if it's that precious, basically, he decides. Let me see if I can find the transcript here. Hold on for a sec. But he basically decides. Hold on. Here we go. Just trying to get up on it. Here we go. But anyway, he decides that since it means a lot to her, or something, he decides to give it to her. In fact, let me. I'm going to try to find a. See. See here. Hold on. Okay, I got a whole transcript here. They only put in quotations. Da, 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 da. Yeah, this is what he says. She compliments it. Compliments it, because she's okay. So she realizes. Okay, so here's the thing. Rarity realizes that Spike has this intention to eat it because it's his fire, because he's had plans to do that. And when she tells Spike that she's never seen anything like it, and tells him it's magnificent, because Spike's like, "Wow, you really think so?" And she's like, basically, "Yeah." He basically sighs, and I wouldn't say reluctantly, but then holds her hoof, and says, "Then you should have it. This beautiful gem was meant to be with you." In a sense, what he did there is he realized, okay, she's very complimentary of it. He realizes when she tells him, "Okay, I've never seen anything like it," and since she's somewhat more of a jewel expert than he is, and the rarity and the value of things like that, he's like, "Look, then, maybe this was meant. Maybe the reason I, riped this or seasoned it, whatever he did, to its current perfected state." He realizes when he does that sigh, he's like, maybe there was a reason. Maybe the real reason was not for me to eat it, but to give it to a friend of mine, give it to someone that I care about, someone that's going to value it. And that's why he gave it to Rarity, because in a sense, what he did, because I think he also realized maybe, this might be my only chance. He gives her his heart. He gives her his heart, basically showing that if it means that much, it's meant to be with you. Anyway, like I said, but anyway, what I was trying to say is Lauren Faust wouldn't put scenes in there like that if she wasn't planning. If she didn't have, if she wouldn't have created that episode if she wasn't planning to go a little further with Spike and Rarity. Now, true for the rest of season 2 and for some parts of season 3 that I think she was part of, she didn't really get to explore it a lot as much as she'd like, but she did help consult and throw in hints here and there, like the season 3 premiere. I think it was the Crystal Empire. She basically, I think through a consulting role, had the part of the climax scene be Rarity be the first to hear Spike saying, look up here, and she's the first one to notice him. So, to me, Lauren Faust had a lot of intentions, maybe. But getting back on track here a little bit, Lauren Faust, like I said, had had a reason for this happening. But even though Lauren Faust had a reason, even since the beginning of the show, fans have debated. Fans have been like, seriously, Lauren, why would you do this? And even after Lauren Faust left and Megan McCarthy took over, and Megan McCarthy herself just come out and said, look, there's nothing to this thing between Spike and Rarity. They're nothing more than friends. But yet, throughout Megan McCarthy's run, we have seen hints here and there. It wouldn't be until about the second half of season 5 where it would really start to kind of cool down a little bit. I mean, yeah, we had a moment, some people would say, with Gauntlet of Fire, but that was about it. We didn't really have anything much after that. We didn't really have much in season 7. I mean, we had something in the movie. Don't get me wrong. People will be like, well, they threw it in there in the movie. Yeah, they threw some moments here and there in the movie. I mean, when you take a look in the movie, Rarity's the only one to say hello to Spike, while the others say hello to Twilight. Well, they're trying to hide from Tempest on the pirate ship. Spike's right there next to Rarity trying to comfort her, trying to calm her down. So, they did throw in moments. They did throw in moments here and there in the movie. But it wouldn't be until about season 8 when Megan McCarthy would step away, Nicole Dubuc, or Dubuc, or however you pronounce her name, would come in, take over, and only then did we get back, if you will, towards the end of the first half of last season. Well, basically, in the last couple of episodes of the first half of last season, season 8, only then did we start noticing it coming back. Because if you watch the breakdown, there is a scene where Spike brings out a big old heart-shaped, hearts and hoofs like gift, has a poem on it, and it's for Rarity. We noticed that. And then, Meltdown, basically some people would say is a Sparity episode, because Spike's taking Rarity to go get some phoenix feathers as well as check on Pee-wee. And the fact that Spike says anything for her, of course, Spike's feelings for her. And the fact that they both go through similar situations simultaneously at the same time in the episode. And then you take a look at the season 8 finale, if you will. It's Rarity that helps him out when he's kind of gagging on the letter that Celestia is sending to explain what's going on. You have a few moments in the second part where they're right next to each other while they're trying to get out of Tartarus. And then, to cap that all off, you have best gift ever. And as I've said before, not a lot of people will agree with how Spike got Rarity's name, cutie mark, if you will, from Fluttershy. But the way it was made up in the end was all worthwhile. Again, like I said, not a lot of people will agree with with the way Spike ended up getting Rarity's name, if you will, or cutie mark. But again, it's all worth it in the end. It was all worth it in the end for what he gave Rarity, for the gift that he gave Rarity. Now, whether people want to agree with it or not, what Spike gave Rarity, believe it or not, that first part of the true gift of giving, because that was the song, but Spike's part was a love song. It was a love portion. It was a romantic portion of the song. It was basically a love song. The first half, Spike's part, it was a love song, and he was using that to serenade Rarity in front of not just the rest of the main six, not just in front of Discord, but also in front of essentially his other big sister, Cadence and Shining Armor, who probably knew about Spike's feelings for Rarity, but never thought anything else of it until now. So, when one thinks about it, you may not totally agree with the idea of Spike and Rarity being together or even being teased, and you might feel, and you have a right to this opinion, you might feel, hey, this needs to stop. This needs to come to an end now. This needs to have a resolution somehow, and mostly a resolution to where Spike gets over this crush and they can just remain friends. Despite how you feel, you got to realize that no matter how you look at it, it's always going to be part of the lore and the history of Friendship is Magic. I mean, it's basically a part of Americana, if you will. Well, it's kind of like, let's put it this way. Everybody says there's certain things in the spring and the summer that are part of Americana, right? Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. So when people say baseball, apple pie, grandma's apple pie, and all that are all part of Americana. It's the same way here. It's the same way here with Spike and Rarity. Them being together, or them being teased, put together, whatever, semi-official, however you want to look at it. Because I look at what happened in Best Gift Ever at the end as essentially them being sort of semi put together, like not not like full on official and all that and everything, but basically along the lines of these two are an item, or there's something between the two that's more than just friendship now. Because like I said, you take a look, because as I've mentioned before, and everybody else will point this out, if you take a look during the moments of when Spike sings that song to Rarity at the Best Gift Ever, Rarity's expression is not just kind of surprise and shock, but then all of a sudden she's also touched in the way, in what you see when she kind of realizes what's going on and she's touched by it. She has what's known as sparks, stars in her eyes. And as I've said before, and anybody else will agree, that's usually an indication of there now being something more than just friendship, because she's now essentially getting the meaning given to her, if you know what I mean. She's getting the meaning. Oh, she's finally, maybe in the eyes of a lot of fans, finally realizing that, okay, this thing, this crush or this affection Spike has for me, you know, is real. Like, oh my gosh, this dragon really cares about me more than just as a friend. And it's right then and there that some might say that she realizes that she's realizing that the love of her life, the Prince Charming, the white knight in shining armor she's been looking for, has been right in front of her the whole time. Now, again, now again, I know some people were very critical about that. I mean, I watched Maps review on it. I watched Golden Fox's review on it. And they've been fans probably a bit longer than I have, and they have a right to their opinion, feeling as though when they ask, when they're basically asking the question, when is enough enough? And I get that, I understand that, but I look at it from being a long time, old school kind of guy. That when you're setting something like this up, even if you tease it and it goes on for this long, even after having a cooling off period, sooner or later you're going to have to come back to it. And when you do come back to it, sooner or later you're going to have to resolve it. And the way it gets resolved may not be the way you want, but at least it's a resolution. Now, I've said before, and I'll say it again, I do hope, perhaps since this is the last season, that they do go from being what I call semi-official to being somewhat, if not somewhat official, if not literally official with these two. Because if season 9 is it, and they've been promoting it as it is, as being so, then I think, in my honest opinion, they have to go this route. They've already teased it. They've even went beyond. I'll put it this way. They even went beyond teasing with Spike's portion of the True Gift of Giving song that he sang to Rarity, which was more of a love song and a serenade, than anything else. So to me, they have to go all the way. They really do. No matter how you look at it. And I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest. If they don't decide to do it, and they decide, okay, we'll bring back Autumn Blaze, and we'll have her come visit Ponyville to pay Fluttershy and Applejack a visit, meet the rest of the main 7, if you will, see Spike, and because the Corinne are half dragon, half pony, because if she's being half dragon, oh my gosh, she sees Spike, holy smokes, who is this? I like him, kind of deal. Then I wouldn't have a problem with that either. Again, I wouldn't have a problem with that either. But that's totally up to them what they want to do. Again, my opinion is I hope they do find a way to officially make this a reality. Like, don't just say it's kind of semi there or almost there. Go all the way. Because like I said, there've been a lot of shows, past and present, animated, live action, whatever, to where they've teased something between two characters, and they followed through on it. True, there have been shows to where they would have a cooling off period. They would have somewhat of a a cooling off period. But in the end, they would come back full circle. They would come back full circle and be like, yeah, we need to tie this loose end up because people can still wonder about it. And I think that's what they're doing with Spike and Rarity. They're tying this loose end up. You know, whether or not people, again, agree with it or they don't, that's totally their opinion. But the other reason I think some people are quick to not want to at least say, okay, if this happens, it happens. We're willing to accept it. And yes, it's been a part of the show since who knows how long. I think honestly the reason some people don't like to admit that there might be something there between them is it's called denial. Now, I say this with all due respect, but again, as I mentioned earlier, you know, I've been a fan a long time and I've watched a variety of shows. I've read a variety of comics. Every show and comic, whether they're based on the same thing, a little different, whatever, when they've had a romance get teased or followed through on, basically you would have another group of fans that would not be supportive of it. Again, one good example, and I've used this as an example before, and I'll use it again. I've been a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog for a long time. Fan of the Saturday AM cartoon, the Archie comic, what have you. And mostly when it came to the comic, maybe somewhat with the cartoon, but mostly with the comic, everybody that read that comic knew that Sonic the Hedgehog and the character Princess Sally Acorn, or Sally Acorn for short, were an item. They were a couple. It was teased in the show. It was followed through on in the show, especially towards the end of the second season, somewhat in season 1. And like I said, it was followed through mostly in season 2 and at the end. And it was also the same way somewhat in the comics, even since the beginning. But there was always that group of fans that would be against Sonic and Sally being an item. They would want other characters to be with Sonic, and if not, other characters to be with Sally. When it came to Sonic, mostly, and that's mostly who was always the one they would be targeting at, they'd be saying, no. Sonic shouldn't be with Sally. Sonic should be with Amy because they're both hedgehogs. Makes sense. But yet, in context and in continuity, Amy was still a young child. The only reason fans ever wanted even more so later on in the late 90s, early 2000s, for Sonic to be with her is because the comic book had to use a story to kind of age her up to look like what she does now, even though she's technically still a kid. She was technically still a kid trapped in an adult, more fully mid-teenage body. But they wanted Amy to be with Sonic because they're both hedgehogs. And they would come up with reasons for Sonic not to be with Sally. They would even point out Sonic would be better off with Fiona, even though Ian took care of that situation later on when he came on board. Ian Flynn, that is. And wrote a story to where Fiona wasn't exactly who she set out to be. Some would even say put him with Bunny Rabbit. When they had that whole situation there with Bunny and Sonic and them being separate from their loves and whatever. Very convoluted. Very convoluted. But still, just checking something there. Checking my phone for a second. But, even, as convoluted as that story situation was, they would want Sonic with Bunny, even as far as they think is the Saturday AM cartoon. All because of the fact that they didn't like Sally. And some might say, oh, the reason you don't like Sally is because of the way she was written sometimes in some of the stories, which I agree. Sometimes when she was written in certain ways, it wasn't the best way to write her. But again, it's not entirely, comics' fault or anything. It all depends on who wrote the story and who approved it. But again, every time people would do this, they would say Sonic should be with Amy or someone else. And the same with Sally. It's because of the fact that they were in denial. They were in denial because every now and then, about several times, more than I can count. Well, maybe not as more than I can count, but at least 3 times that I know of, when when the stories would call for them to be away, the writers, no matter who they were, whether they were Ken Penders, Ian Flynn, or whoever, would always find a way to get Sonic and Sally back together. They'd find story arcs to make it happen. Ken Penders made it happen with 122 and 123. Those being the issues. Ian Flynn found a way to make it happen by slowly, naturally, and organically reestablishing that trust between that, kind of taking it step by step by, like I said, organically and naturally reestablishing the trust between them, re-strengthening the friendship, and then finally, when he felt the time was right, ironically, with issue 222, 99 issues later, if you will, from the last time, almost 99 to 100 issues later, I should say, he decides to put them together again. And why? Because it's what fans expect. And even Ian Flynn, despite how you felt about him, knew that no other character could work with Sonic on a romantic level or an understanding, kind of attracted level, affectionate level, whatever. And the same could be said for Rarity and Spike. The reason fans are against Spike and Rarity are not just because of some of the reasons they give, and some of them could be valid, some of them could not, and some of them are just their opinion, mostly their opinion. But mostly it's because they're in denial. They don't want to admit the fact that this is something that's always going to be part of the show, always part of the lore, always part of the history, even after they look back on the series, after the season is over, and even whatever specials we got upcoming in the future, even with Gen 5, a couple years away or a year away or whatever, they don't want to acknowledge the fact that when they look back on this show, that they know that one of the only true romance angles in the show that a majority of fans actually supported and got behind was Spike and Rarity. And that's why when you hear, with all due respect, and I say this with all due respect, when you hear fellow fans and analysis like Golden Fox, Miss Anthropony, Josh Scorcher, aka Firebrand, who I think's grown a little towards it, and a few others, it's mostly because of the fact that they're in denial. They don't want to acknowledge that, oh my gosh, they're going here. Why are they going here? Why do they want to pursue this? But yet they know why. It's like you started it, you might as well finish it, and finish it in the way that a majority of the fans expect it to be finished. And again, look, I'm not saying that, you need to totally support it. I'm not saying that. Okay? I'm not saying you need to totally support it. What I'm saying is, just like a lot of us have accepted certain things um, in real life, as well as when it comes to our favorite franchises, when they get turned into television shows or movies or certain moments and events that happen in comics. Whether or not we like what's happened, we accept it because we know maybe there's a bigger reason for it. You know, a lot of us may not. Hold on for a sec. Hello? Yeah, big tuna sandwich they have. Football. It's called the footlong tuna sandwich. It's a big one. Oh, it is? Yeah, yeah, it's a bigger one. It's kind of a bigger size. It's a bigger version. I think it's the footlong one as well. It's double the size. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. That was just my mom calling up, letting me, kind of asking me what I want for lunch. But anyway, like I was saying, let me just adjust my mic there so I can get it right. There we go. But like I was saying, a lot of fans are in denial when they see this. And again, you know, they have a right to how they feel. I mean, I'm not trying to say that they should like Spike and Rarity being together, but it's just they realize when they look back on this show that this is going to be a main fabric of it. That this is one of those main romantic angles that besides Shining Armor and Cadence, Fluttershy and Discord, Mod Pie and Mudbriar, Sugar Bell and Big Mac, that this is going to be that this is going to be, you know, added into that equation. This is going to be added in to that. This is going to be lumped in, if you will, some people would put it, into that category of a romance that was part of Friendship is Magic. And again, they may not like it. They may not care about it. But you know what? It's a part of the show's fabric. And it's always going to be a part of the show's fabric. Again, like I was trying to say before I was interrupted there. Um, basically, basically, there's a lot of things that have happened in real life that we may not agree with, but we have to accept. There are some things that have happened in movies, animated live action, television, animated live action, or even in comic books with big events and situations that we may not like and agree with, but we accept and understand that there's a reason for it. And Spike and Rarity's relationship, whether you agree with it or you don't, you realize that there's a reason for it. There's a reason why these two are together. Or been, well, not totally together, but semi together in a sense, in my opinion. There's a reason. Because, like I said earlier, Rarity, and everybody's pointed this out, Silver Quill, Firebrand, Golden Fox, Dr. Wolf, everybody, Lightning Bliss, KP, Sweetie Bloom, everybody has pointed this out. That Rarity is the only character in the main 6, main 7, main 8 to show romance, to show any interest in romance. Okay? Any interest. And despite everything she's gone through to try to get that romantic happy ending, to get that Prince Charming, to get that knight in shining armor, what's dawned on her, as far as I'm concerned, when it came to best gift ever, when it came to best gift ever, what's dawning on her there, you can even add in Rarity's biggest fan, maybe as well. Maybe you don't like the ending of that short, however you want to look at it. But what's dawning on her as a character in storyline is she's realizing that her Prince Charming and her knight in shining armor has been there the whole time in the form of Spike. That's what's dawning on her. That's what's waking her up and everything. And that's why they put those little subtle moments during that part when he sang the song, the little sparks, stars in her eyes, and all that, is because the realization's dawning on her. It's dawning on her. So, again, the reason I believe, in my opinion, some people may not like Spike and Rarity, and they come up with these excuses of, oh, well, Spike's this, Spike's a baby dragon, yet he's not now. Yet he's not. He's a full-grown adult dragon, despite being small for his size. And that's a totally different story for another time, but I've discussed that before. It's basically because they feel, I think what it is, they just feel it's strange that here you have this beautiful mare of a character, this femme fatale, probably going with and falling in love and being in love with this small dragon that's about the size of her entire leg. And yet, they push Spike and Applejack. Yet, people push Spike and Rainbow, Spike and Starlight. So, what's the problem with Spike and Rarity? Some people might say, oh, well, the reason... Now, some of them that will come out and say, well, the reason we don't like it is because she abuses him. She takes advantage of him. Really? Well, I don't think Spike's the only character she's used to feminine wilds on to get what she wants. You don't believe me? Watch Rarity Investigates. Okay? And true, that may not be a popular trait that people like about her. That may not be a popular trait, but you know what? It's who she is. I'm going to put it this way. I can't count how many shows I have seen, how many comics I have read, how many movies I've seen where the main love interest or one of the main female love interests for one of the main characters has not done that in their own way. So it's not the first time and it's not the last. And sometimes, folks, it all depends on who writes the character. It all depends on who writes the character. And you got to look at it like this. Spike knows she knows. Rarity knows she knows. Rarity herself, that is. And yet both of them knowing that there is something there, probably more than just friendship between them, Spike and Rarity at times are willing to put it aside to help each other. Spike put it aside in simple ways. Rarity at times put her own cleanliness away in Gauntlet of Fire. The point I'm getting at, guys, is no matter how much you want to deny this, this being a reality or this being part of the fabric of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Americana, whatever you want to call it, it is. And you can't go again. You cannot debate that. You cannot argue that. It's always going to be a part of this show. It's always going to be a part of this series, whether you like it or you don't. The comic books have a little bit more leeway. That's why you probably see it more in there than anywhere else. I mean, who's the last character to say what was needed to break Rarity out of the control of the nightmare magic. Spike. What did the last panel show? Who did the last panel show Spike being next to with a hoof around his shoulders and a big heart emoji above him? Spike. The point is, I know not a lot of people like the idea of this ship being pushed again, being pushed in a way that it shouldn't be, but yet it is. But yet it is being pushed. It is being pursued. You know, whether you like it or you don't, that is what's happening. And whether or not they make it fully official in this last season, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, we got to accept that it's always going to be part of the show. Whether they just keep it semi-official, where, okay, the closest we're going to get is the song, and maybe we'll get a moment here and there in the final season, that's fine too. The point is, no matter how much you debate it, no matter how much you look at it as being controversial, it's always going to be a fabric of the show. It's always going to be. And everybody, from the fans to the writing staff, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that, and they have to just accept it. You know, what I was trying to say earlier, and I got distracted there for a second. You know, WWE right now is teasing us with teasing us with this whole Kofi Kingston storyline. You know, making it look like just when they're about to give us what we want, they do this to add another twist. And do a lot of us like it? No. But we're willing to accept it because we know it's leading to something bigger in the end. The point is, whether you like it, I like it, or anybody likes it, Spike and Rarity, the Sparity ship, is always going to be a major part of the show. It's always going to be a major part of the series. And there's nothing honestly, there's nothing we can really say about it. You know, I mean, again, everybody has their opinions and reasonings. I get that. But guys, let's look at it this way. It's the last season. If they go through with it, and I'll be honest, my personal opinion, and being a little biased, I hope they do. I hope they make this official some way, somehow. But it's the final season, guys. If they do go through with it and make Spike and Rarity an official item, maybe towards the end, we have to realize that this was set up since the start, and now it's just coming to fruition. We've seen it take its various growth steps, growing steps, if you will, to this moment, and now we're finally getting it. But I think when you look at it, you just got to look at the clues, guys. You know, if they wanted to not do this, if Lauren Faust did not want to do this, she would have had Spike focus on someone else, some other pony in the main six. If they didn't want to do this, Megan McCarthy would have came up with the episode long ago to have them just be friends. And that's it. I mean, Inspiration Manifestation is a Sparity episode, whether you believe it or not. And true, that might be more of what fans want. But in the end, we just got to accept the fact that, you know, it's here. It's here. It's going to stay. And like I said, this is the last season, guys. Let's not debate this. Let's just accept what's going to happen. And if it does happen, which I'm hoping it does personally, let's just be happy that we finally got a resolution, okay? So that's all I'm going to say, guys. Let me know what you think down below. Thank you all for tuning in live. Really appreciate the support. Art and everything. Let me know what you all think down below in the comment section. Let me know what you all think down below in the let me know what you all think down below. Post live, like I said, in the comment section. Again, thank you all for joining me live. Really appreciate it. And I will talk to you all later. God bless. Take care. I'm out. I'm about to get me some lunch. So God bless. Take care.